Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before we get started, if you wish to hear this webinar in Spanish, please make sure to click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. Si desea escuchar este seminario en español, por favor oprima el botón de interpretación en la parte inferior de su pantalla. My name is Valerie Grust. I will be one of your co-hosts for today. I am an Olympic swimmer from Guatemala. Welcome to our webinar series, Underwater Chats by Panama Aquatics. It was created by and for athletes with the goal of creating a safe conversation space for crucial subjects of development and support that are not commonly discussed in the aquatic community. We have a great webinar prepared for you today, Involvement in Aquatics, the future of our sport is in our hands. In this webinar, athlete representatives will talk about the importance of athlete leadership, the procedure for the upcoming FINA Athletes Commission elections, and their vision of what they are planning to do to help the region if they are to assume this new leadership position.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marcelo Acosta. I'm a two-time Olympic swimmer from El Salvador. I'm one of your co-hosts for today as well, and I am part of this production team of this webinar series. It is a pleasure to have you all with us today. We have an amazing panel joining us today as we embark in this conversation.
Ali and Marcela were not able to join us live, but we have a truly outstanding panel of athlete representatives with us today. Jordy Grotters is a swimmer from Aruba. He graduated from University of Missouri with a Parks, Recreation, and Tourism degree with an emphasis in sport management and a minor in business. He is certified with the FINA Coaches Certification Program in levels 1 and 2. Jordy has accomplished many firsts for Aruba. He's an all-SEC and All-American title holder, silver medalist at USA Junior National Championships, 3-time medalist at the South American Junior Games, and was the first ever to reach an A qualifying standard for the Youth Olympic Games for Aruba, which he achieved in 3 different events, which is truly outstanding. And he is currently a swim coach at his own club, Giants Aquatics Aruba.
And next we got Bill May. He is an artistic swimmer from the United States. He is a US national champion, a Swiss, German, French, and Rome Open champion, a Goodwill Games silver medalist, and a 5-time World Championship medalist. In addition, Bill has done numerous shows and performances for specialized events, including collaborations with the Nevada Ballet. He serves as an athlete representative in the Panama Aquatics Technical Committee and in the U.S. Artistic Swimming for Diversity, Equality, Equity, and Inclusion, and has been active as a coach and choreographer for many years.
Robin Randall is an Olympic water polo player from Canada. He has a degree in political science and a graduate certificate in applying learning disability studies. Robin is a 5-time World Championships national team member, 4-time FINA World League super finalist, 3-time Pan American Games medalist, and a 2-time Commonwealth Championships medalist. He has served as the MNT athlete representative for WPC Board of Directors, WPC Athletes Council Chair, MNT Manager and Assistant Coach, and as a board member of Athletes Canada. He is currently an Assistive Technology Advisor in Access and Inclusion Services at Mount Royal University.
And last but definitely not least, we got Romel Pacheco. He is an Olympic diver from Mexico. He has a degree in business administration, a master's in human capital, and as a result of his committed to activities of social impact, he has awarded an honorary degree, Doctorado Honoris Causa, by the Ibero-American Doctoral Senate. Romel is a 6-time Olympic finalist, a 3-time Pan American gold medalist, diving world champion, and the first Mexican to achieve a perfect dive at an international meet. He serves as a member of the Youth, Defense, and Sports Commission. He's a content creator on social media and is the founder and director of the Thermal Health Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation Center.
Before we get started, let me say briefly how the webinar will unfold. First, each panelist will tell us a bit about their background and vision for the sport, and then we will open up the conversation with our panel and transition into our Q&A section. So please enter your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen at any point during the webinar, as we will have a lot of time to get your voice out there, get the conversation started with these athlete representatives and ask them anything you want to know as of, their athletic careers, their journey into what they're doing today, and especially the leadership positions that they're about to assume.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get started then. Can one of you tell us what is an athletes committee and why is it important to have one in our national federations and international institutions? How about we start with Bill, please? Can you start us off, please?
Yeah, so I actually got really involved with FINA and with UANA during the pandemic because I started to see that we were kind of in a world where everything was crazy and no one knew what was going on. So it was an opportunity to learn more about our sports and learn what was fueling our sports. And I started to see that we had all these barriers and blockades, but the thing that kept us going was the passion, and it was the passion of the athletes. They wanted to be together. They wanted to fight to still compete. And so we developed a lot of virtual, so just going through that and seeing that a lot of the things that we were doing and that we were accomplishing was all because these people were strong and they were fighting and it was coming from their hearts. So to be able to do that and get together with the athletes and see what they really were looking forward to, that made my passion stronger to really get the view of the athletes and see how we can change our sport and how we can evolve our sport to include more people, to get more voices heard, and to make the athletes a stronger community amongst the world of aquatic sports.
Okay, awesome. What about Robin? What do you think?
Yeah, I find athlete representation, it really is a key communication between the athletes and any powers that be. It's really crucial to have an athlete voice at any table where decisions are being made, because those decisions are being made about us. And even in a fake democracy, people should get what they want some of the time, right? So if you're in the room with the smoking cigars and the glasses of scotch or whatever, at least you can make yourself heard, and those people will have to deal with your voice being in the room. It's not enough to think that if you're making the decisions that what's right for people. You have to hear it from the people themselves because they're the ones that live it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For sure. And going off of that, can you guys tell us a bit about the upcoming election for the FINA Athletes Committee? So first of all, what is the mission of the FINA Athletes Committee? What will the election process be? And, why is it important for you to be running for this position?
Can anybody speak?
I could go for it. The stated mission of the FINA Athletes Committee is to ensure the voice of athletes are at the heart of aquatic sports, promoting athlete involvement at all decision-making levels. So that's how it is as written. And I think it behooves us as candidates and the successful candidates, especially, or any successful candidates, to really hold them to that language, because that's quite powerful. And if they actually mean to live that through, if they mean that with their hearts and souls, then we can hold them to account, and we can affect decision-making, quote, at all decision-making levels, right? So that's pretty powerful, and I hope that it's sincere.
And I think, as Robin said earlier, no matter what, if we're there, we're being heard. And obviously, sport is created for the athletes. So even though there's people making rules and stuff, this is created for us. This is for the betterment of our sports. And, the only way to be heard is to speak. And that's what these committees are for. So you're loud, so you're out there, so people can hear you. And there's a direct line of communication between athletes everywhere, not just a select few, but from all over the world, smaller countries, smaller federations, to really get out there, see what's going to improve them, because when they grow, all of our sports will grow as a whole.
Yeah, we just said the the standards a lot higher. Absolutely. And then can you share with us what are your tasks in the committee and what do you get out of this experience, really? We can start with, let's start with Jordi. How about Jordi?
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, what are the tasks of the committee? That's, you know, it can range from small things to huge projects. And I first got involved in athletes committee, let's call it athletes committee life, when the Aruban Olympic Committee started up their athletes committee back in 2018. Or at least that was the first time that they held elections for one. Before that, they had a standing athletes committee that was just appointed. And, you know, since then, we've had small projects that really went almost, you know, quote unquote, unnoticed, that we didn't do it for the recognition or anything like that. We did it just to ensure the betterment of all athletes on Aruba. So I imagine there will be those kinds of projects as well, just on a, you know, much bigger scale if we're talking about FINA. And then we had some big projects as well that benefited all of the athletes of Aruba. For example, we organized some webinars ourselves, kind of like this one, to benefit. It was during the pandemic when everything was on lockdown, no athletes were allowed to train. So we hosted a webinar every 2 to 3 months to kind of keep the athletes mentally engaged, as if, you know, to not check out, to not let them forget that they eventually did have a mission that they would get back into training. So I can imagine those kinds of bigger projects on the FINA level would include things that can range from creating a new type of developmental swim meet to maybe creating training programs for regions to get together and benefit in that kind of situation. But it's really unpredictable, I'd say, to see what kind of tasks you're going to have. But the overheading theme of these tasks is going to be, will it benefit the athletes? And if the answer is yes, then it's a task that I think we can take on.
And it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing. We truly hope that you guys can represent our region on the world stage. I think that's so cool. It's so needed. You know, you guys are awesome spokespeople for your own sport and for our region. So we really appreciate that. So now, can each of you share a bit about your background and motivation to get involved in sports leadership, as well as your vision for change in aquatic sports? How will you use this position to help your regional aquatic sports? Maybe we can start with Robin. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a town of 60 people. Not a lot of water polo players come out of a town of 60 people. We're in the middle of Saskatchewan, which would be sort of like North Dakota, or, you know, it's the prairies. It's pretty landlocked, so not a lot of swimmers there either. But yeah, I came up through the national team program. I found water polo at a young age, and I happened to be talented at it, and I stuck with it. And I ended up moving to the National Training Center when I was 18. And I was an up and coming goalie. There was a couple of older folks ahead of me, older athletes. I mean, older than 18 sets the bar pretty low, but still. And I had some trouble making the team. There wasn't very clear selection criteria. When I asked questions about, you know, why wasn't I on the team? Oh, well, this guy is more experienced. I said, okay, well, I played better than him. And if I don't get to make the team, then I never get to make any experience. And, you know, it's a vicious cycle. So what gives, sort of thing. I had some sort of back and forth with the coach, and eventually I quit and waited for that coach to quit, and then came back. And when I came back, I said, you know, I really don't want that to happen to anybody else. So I started getting involved on the board of directors side. I became the athletes rep to the board of directors, which was pretty impressive at the time. We had a man and a woman. They both had votes at the board of director level, which our federal regulations changed. So we had to make a council, which then had a liaison, and et cetera. I won't get into the weeds. I'm a policy wonk, but I would like to point out that the way that this is made up, the FINA committee, there's an ex officio board member. So the chair is an ex officio board member. For those of you who don't know what that means a non-voting member. So one of my first goals from just reading through this document is we should at least get one vote, probably two, probably one for a man and one for a woman. So I'd really like to push the organization in that direction, because it's one thing to be able to consult and give your opinion and have a voice at the table. It's another thing to be like an actual representative. You know, the issues that come up are, what clothes can you wear? Who can be in the room when you're getting drug tested? What languages get spoken in that room? Like, these are pretty serious things, and we don't get to vote on them. that seems a little Tea Party-esque to me, to take an example from the United States.
For sure. Thank you for sharing. No, that's so important. So yeah, for everyone hearing, we really need to make those changes for sure. And that's awesome. So let's hear from Jordy now. Take it away.
Yeah, background wise, I was swimming in Aruba. There wasn't much option really for me if I can make a lighthearted joke. My older siblings swam, my parents swam, so it was almost fate and destiny. I joined swimming when I was 7, but I was horrendously bad, really. I think my mom's old teammates were really asking her, like, really, that's one of yours? And so I quit real soon after that, and I joined maybe a year later, and I think from there, the rest is history. It went okay. But in terms of, like I mentioned just now, I joined the Athletes Commission back in 2018. But before that, when I was at the University of Missouri, I joined a student organization called SAFE, Student Athletes Fostering Equality. And I think that was really my first experience with a group that was, let's say, where leadership was kind of a role, but also where our goal was not really on the performance side of sport, but really about the just general well-being of the student athletes. And that's, I think, related to the Athletes Commission now. I'm less concerned about the performance side of things, but more about the athletes and representing them so that they are well taken care of, so that in the end, they can't perform better. But it's not the main goal, it's the road to get there. But in any case, so I joined that organization, the SAFE, back in 2016, I think. So since then, it's been an eye-opening experience for me, because the reason that organization was actually started was because of, at the time, the George Floyd riots, I believe it was. So it was a very eye-opening situation for me, coming from Aruba, where things were, let's call it, very peaceful, and those kinds of riots and protests didn't really present themselves. So all of a sudden, I'm in the States, I'm in Missouri, and everyone feels affected by the situation, and they feel the need to take action to make sure that it doesn't happen on that scale again. So it was very, in a way, also kind of an honor to be part of that first group of SAFE student athletes that work towards, let's call it, the betterment of or equality on campus. So that's kind of my background into how I got into being involved for leadership, caring about others, because truth is that, I want to be as transparent, as truthful as possible. Before that, I think it's fair to say that I was a very selfish person, where I cared about me. And throughout college, that went away more and more. And especially now, I have my own team here on Aruba, and my own swimming club team. And what we do, or even today, actually, by chance, we had a volunteering day today, because I want to teach these kids that the community around the team is just as important as they themselves. So it's one of the 3 pillars of my team that I took away from my time at the university. So that's a little bit of my background, where how I got to caring about the betterment of student athletes in general. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jordy. And it's great to see what you're doing now for the sport as a coach. We grew up together in the sport, since we've known each other since we were really little. So it's awesome and really exciting to see everything you're doing now and what's to come, because you're doing great things. So now let's hear from Bill.
Okay, so I've been a synchronized swimmer for a long time, and I've seen it go from synchronized swimming to artistic swimming. And up until 2015, I couldn't compete at the World Championships. It's still, my event isn't an Olympic event yet. So growing up, I never really knew, I knew that I wanted to do it, and I loved to do it. And again, my passion was artistic swimming, but there wasn't an outlet. So we fought for it. And then finally in 2015, they included men into the World Championships. And I started to see, okay, we need to fight more for this. Like, it's still not moving fast enough. And it wasn't just the fact that I wanted to compete for myself, but it was the fact that I started to see that these sports, they weren't as inclusive or, like equitable as, everything should be. We still have less females a lot of times. And from my background, it was the opposite. But I feel like, like we have to fight by example. And for me, I wanted to show any athletes that, if they have a dream, if they have a passion, that, we can fight together, and we are together. And that's what I feel like the Athletes Commission is. It's representing those voices that maybe they don't know where to go, or they're afraid that they aren't heard, and just fight for, like the growth of our sport and the growth of inclusion, diversity, equity, equality. And so that's what makes me really passionate about wanting to be on the Athletes Commission, because I feel like we need voices for all of those athletes that maybe feel excluded, maybe not be able to go to the World Championships, but still want to take part in an aquatic sport.
Thanks for sharing, Bill. No, definitely representing voices is so important and definitely crucial for the growth of the sport. And now we have Romel, who will deliver his remarks in Spanish. Our wonderful translator, Marissa, will provide live interpretation. So Marissa, let us know when you're ready. And bueno, voy a pasar yo a español, así Romel empezamos a platicar. Cuéntenos sobre su motivación para involucrarse en el liderazgo deportivo y su visión de cambio, tanto para su deporte como para la comunidad de deportes acuáticos.
Sport. No lo oigo. Oops, his volume, his mute.
Yeah.
There he is. Fine. Perfect. Perfect. We can hear him perfectly now.
Billy, Robin, Jordi, Valerie, and Marcelo, I'm Romel Pacheco, and everyone. I want to speak in Spanish because many people speak Spanish, do it diving and swimming and everyone. Okay. Escuché con mucho detenimiento.
I was hearing very carefully all of the experiences by each one of you, and I think that all of us share this. It doesn't matter in what sport you are, whether it's synchronized swimming, aquatics, swimming, water polo, swimming open waters, or diving, of course. We have had to struggle against many circumstances, and today we are retired athletes. In my case, I retired after the Olympic Games of Tokyo, and we have fought for the lack of help with the authorities in our own countries and with authorities who are having problems for issues at the international level, which we cannot control. I saw Bill in the dining hall from far away in Kazan in the World Cup, and I was so happy to see of this opening, of this inclusion of swimming to different levels and different disciplines. This was so important. In the last Pan American Games, I was unable to attend, not because I didn't have the level or I didn't win my national championship, or not because I was the best in my team, but because our athletes were damaged in our own country and sometimes outside our country. So why is it so important to be represented as an athlete at FINA in Panam Aquatics? Is to be able to raise our voices, to be able, as Robin has said, to be democratic. We want to have our voices heard, and we want to take decisions for our vote to be considered, because many of these decisions that are taken at top levels are from people who have been there for years and years, have a very different perspective, and the perspective of youths or those who are living in the diving, in the pool today is so different. Today in my country, I am a federal representative, a congressman. I am in the Congress of my country. And why did I decide from sports to go to politics? People ask this to this day. There will be elections in FINA, and although it's like just sports, it's also politics. I want to tell you why today I have decided to be a congressman. What I lived as an athlete with no help, with very little support, fighting against the authorities, having to focus on your sports, but having to focus on so many things that affected my performance. I don't want young people who are going through sports to have to go through the same thing I went through. Swimming and aquatic sports in all lives are so general, and it's all levels of our societies. People who almost have no money and start fighting, to people who have money and are also struggling against things. When we are in a pool, we can hear that shot of going out, that whistle to start. All of that goes to one side and you focus on what you have trained for. But we have to give bigger opportunities for everyone to have a space for sports, not to be just for privileged people, for sports to be inclusive. Sports today is a tool for prevention of disease, for prevention of crime, for prevention of so many things. And we must give all the people such opportunity. Thanks to sports, thanks to diving, I was able to meet many people, go to many countries who made me who I am today, who has values of discipline, resilience. And we have seen this during the pandemics. We were becoming prepared for the Olympic cycle, for the Olympic teams, and the decision of canceling or postponing them. This decision really made us change our mindset of our vision. Here in Mexico, I was the first generation who established an athletes commission for the Olympic Committee in Mexico after the pandemics to look for a strategy so that the athletes would not quit their sport and become disillusioned, and to be able to look towards the future, see what we have today and construct and build upon this. I heard a lot about what you were saying. Now we're having elections. Each one of you and many more people have proposals and want to build things. I'm so happy to hear that everyone here is looking for the benefit of all athletes, of all sports people. And I tell you, when I was in diving, I would joke with my athletes, when I retire, I'm going to go to FINA one day. I'll be in FINA, because everything that we're saying today, this is what FINA has to do, that's what FINA has to do, and complaining, no one does anything. So one of us has to go to the top of FINA and say things that have to be done without fear of anything, without fear of saying, I'm not going to do this, or they're going to take away, something from me. No, anyone who reaches a position, go there to that level and do things the way they're supposed to be done. That's my opinion. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Romy. So important. Thank you for sharing all of this with us, because these are such important pillars, not only for the development of sports, but as you are mentioning, of really giving this opportunity, this space to everyone, especially you are from Mexico, I'm from Guatemala, Marcelo from El Salvador. We have seen this kind of thing, especially in our country. There's so much work to be done. And as you said, you have to get in there to make the change. You have to be the voice. This is a focus of this webinar, to really, for all of our audience, all of our public here, you have the voice, you have the power to change. Doesn't matter if you're 8 or 50 years old. This motivation, if something is not working, you have to change it. And we as athletes, it comes from trainers all the way up to the people in management. We have to change this. And thank you for saying this. This is such an important pillar. And the focus has to be totally on athletes. So thank you so much. And Marisa, I'm ready, everything fine, perfect.
Okay, well, thank you so much, guys, for sharing with us your experiences and vision for the future of aquatic sports. That's really important for us and for people, our countries. It's just, we need that. We need more of that. We have the talent. We just need somebody to step up and get up there and do the right thing. Just do the job. Just get the job done, just like you do in the platform, just like you do in the pool, just like you do it like at jobs, anywhere else. Just get the job done for these guys. So now we would like to open up the conversation with our entire panel, and let's go from there.
Yeah, so thank you guys again. Thank you so much for sharing. Now we will have a quick Q&A section. So if everyone in our audience, if you have questions for our panelists, please submit your questions now through the Q&A function on Zoom. We will go through as many as possible so that we wait for you guys to submit all of your questions. Marcelo and I will get us started with some initial questions to begin the conversation.
All righty. So I can get us started with an initial question. There are so many important topics that need to be addressed in the aquatic world to initiate change. What are your main concerns as to what it needs to be addressed for our region's aquatic athletes to be able to thrive in the sports and just like go far and beyond and set the standards higher? How about we start with Jordi?
Oh man, that's making me start out. That's a tough one though.
I gotcha.
Let me rephrase the key though. What is something that oh man.
So what are the main concerns that you need, to be addressed in the region, aquatic athletes that need to be, so just like get to that next level that we know we can,
sure.
We just, we were not able to for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no. Okay, so no, I did understand it right. Still difficult, but no. Here's for the region, and then when I say region, Americas is a big continent with a lot of sub-regions with each of those sub-regions having different opportunities, and that's the key word I think is opportunity. In my specific scenario, Aruba is part of the Caribbean region, and Central America, and I think what's more opportunity to be able to train in, let's call it, better developed training scenarios would give the kids from a Caribbean region the chance to be able to reach that higher level. And it's, you almost have, let's call it case studies where a handful of swimmers from these regions, they get recruited by these NCAA programs and they get the chance to swim in the college level, myself and you both included, and you do things that, or you exceed your previous levels and you improve and you do things that you never could have done maybe if you were training at home. And FINA, all credit to them, they do have their FINA development program where every year a new swimmer gets that opportunity to go to a FINA development program, which I believe there are 3 or 4 of these camps worldwide. And, so they do have that, but that's one male, one female in swimming specifically. I'm not even sure what that means for artistic swimming, water polo, and diving, but in swimming specifically, that's 1 male, 1 female per country, which isn't enough. What can we do to give that same opportunity to, let's say, at least 4? Because can you imagine, Marcelo, an El Salvador relay at the World Championship level? That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
So it's what can we do to grow that number from 1 male and 1 female to 4 and 4? In the artistic swimming, you need correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, 8 for a team. What can we do to get 8 swimmers at a underdeveloped region the professional guidance they need to perform, to break through at a higher level? So for me, it's opportunity, creating opportunity, which might mean bringing those coaches and equipments to that country. Then you don't know if the country has the ability to maintain those newfound equipments, and then the alternative is sending that group of potentials to a camp abroad, which those camps are already there. So, what can you do to those camps to make them expand and be able to handle whatever, a 200% increase in athletes? Yeah. But I think that's where I would try to address from my perspective of the Caribbean and perhaps Central American. Now, of course, US and Canada and Brazil and Argentina, they might have those things already. So they might have a different idea for what they need. And that's why I think, working in an athletes commission like FINA's, where, again, I might be wrong on the numbers, but I believe the total athletes commission is going to be 5 swimmers or 5-star swimmers, 5 athletes from each continent representing each of the disciplines. So you're really going to get all kinds of perspectives to try and get ahead in the best possible case scenarios for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I think like just these FINA centers have done an amazing job just like, you know, preparing them so much better than they, you know, they were just staying at their own country. And I mean, you said it beautifully, just like, or either sending new equipment to train with, or all the opportunities for them to train in a much better conditions, right? Or send them to a camp, which, you know, I think Gianluca is a perfect example. He has done an amazing job on getting these kids to, you know, not just to Olympics, which is the highest, you know, sporting event of the world in the history, but also to college, because he cares about like their life after swimming. He cares about the stuff after swimming. So yeah, Robin, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm just taking some notes, and you know, the things that we've mentioned here that are priorities, they're so widespread, they're so and they're all so important. So it's difficult to pick, but just to list a few: infrastructure, inclusion, safe sport, funding, access to training, access to competitions, transition supports for athletes. Like, these are all very important things, and I can't pick a favorite, I can't pick a priority. But what I can say is, I'll just go back to what I mentioned before, and that's our ability to affect the policies that are put in place, that for all of these is dependent on our representation at the FINA board level. And so if we don't push to get better representation, voting representation, we won't have an effect at all decision-making levels that we possibly could get. So that would be my priority, is to just establish a base of representation that is at least equal to what all of the rest of the board members have. If it wasn't for athletes, none of us would be here. Like, there's no sport without athletes. You can have a sport without administrators. People do it in playgrounds all over the world every day. You know, people in Africa roll up a t-shirt and kick it around and play soccer. There's no officials, there's no athletes. There's only athletes, rather.
Absolutely. And they are the stars, man. They are the stars. The athletes are the stars, and we gotta do it for them. And, you know, I mean, I can speak for Valerie and many other people, you know, in this chat, that we go help. We go help too. And because all the people, we are where we are, and we are good, we are blessed, you know, we are grateful. So, you know, it's kind of like a debt. We gotta pay it to all the people. We gotta pay it to all the kids that they need that opportunity. Never, you know, we cannot deny the opportunity to other kids, other people. And, you know, like what you guys are doing, that's awesome. And I'm really glad that you guys are like, you know, want to take over and really get up there and just, again, just get the job done. Get the job done for these kids, because they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. And how about we go with Robin, or if Romel wants to go, either one of you.
Pues yo quiero igual sumarle un poquito a lo que todo el mundo está diciendo, sobre todo.
I'd like to speak a bit about what everyone is saying. As Robin says, we do need very good representatives at the decision-making level. We could plan and say and give our opinions and want to change things at FINA, but if the decisions that are being taken there and our representatives will not have an important voice to make changes, how can we do it? It also has to be based on, according to what you're saying, our beautiful continent is very divided. Marcelo and Valerie, we who come, and Jordi, who come from Central and South America, it's very different as our sport functions in the US or Canada, especially in the United States. All of that strength of sport comes through universities mainly, and this really helps you and reach your potential. But here in Latin America, it's totally different. So the line of action to FINA, to each of the national federations, has to be different work programs in each of these subregions. And there should be a union, especially in Pan Am, to see how we can strengthen those countries who are weaker now, and how to do this interaction and these courses. Jordi was mentioning that swimming, their trainings and camps. In diving, we're worse. We have zero people who go to those camps are able to go. So we have to give them more opportunity, these athletes. We have Central American Games, and my first games were in 2002. We were just a step from diving not being there, because the countries there did not have the facilities. We have to motivate people. Years have gone by. This does not happen anymore, but we have to give incentives to people in Central and South America who do not have the same possibilities as other countries. And I believe that FINA's direction and guidance will be very important. Sometimes the rights of athletes are vulnerated, are hurt, because when someone classifies and they don't take him to a championship or a race, who can you go and say, hey, it was my time, it was my score, and they're not putting me in the team. I'm the best, but they're not taking me because an authority of our country says no. In Mexico today, the Federation of Swimming in Mexico is in a fight with FINA, and our federation is not authorized today. There's a regular committee to make selections and go to the championship, but it's very sad today that we're not able to participate in the national championship made by FINA, because if you participate in that one, the government will take away your support. That's the way we're doing in Mexico, which is an important country. Imagine other countries in Central America, what they are going through too. So the vision should be global. Not the same thing what is happening in El Salvador, not the same thing as what's happening in Canada or what they go through, or in Spain. Each country has their own issues, and we as athletes have this awareness, this sensitivity. It doesn't matter in what country we are. I am sure that many of our rights have been breached and violated, and we have to protect athletes so that their rights are not violated this way, and defend them, and see how authorities have to have that connection to not have this huge gap between authorities and athletes. There has to be a closer communication. The only way to know what's happening is to listen to athletes and coaches who every single day are in the pool, are training, and know what's really happening. Of course, it's very important to highlight also that when one of the athletes has an opportunity and they go to a camp or something, for them to take advantage of this. Many of them do not really know that they can have this opportunity. They say, can I go to that camp? Can I go to that race? But when they get there, they can't really take advantage of it at 100%. I want to be very clear. We're speaking about opportunities, bringing them abroad, bringing more resources to these athletes. But we also have to say, if we're going to do this and give more resources, then I need 110%, 150% from you to take advantage of it. I will give you the resources, or hopefully we'll get the resources and take advantage of these resources and use this. All these gifts, that opportunities that hopefully we will be able to get for them. So now, Marisa, we will be changing to English now, and I'll be back to...
Valerie, take it away. What's your next question?
Yeah, so we've been talking about how athlete leadership is so incredibly important, and everyone has a voice, and we've talked about this, like no matter the age or level of competition, we as athletes have the power to not only inspire others, but also create change at a local and at an institutional level. So for you panelists, what is your advice for athletes as to how can they get involved in sports leadership? How can they begin to lead positive change and inspire others? Whoever wants to jump in can jump in.
I'll jump in. I mean, we keep talking about opportunity, and I think that's the greatest thing. And that's something that I feel like we all experienced over the pandemic, is that it gave people, it implemented a system where we were face-to-face with people that we would never, like our FINA reps. So we were actually, and like these webinars, we were actually able to speak to these people and to learn from them, because you can talk, and maybe you're in a small club or a small country, you don't know where to go. You have these feelings, you have these things that make you upset, you have ideas of change, but you don't know where to go. So I feel like that's something that is such a great opportunity that did spark from the pandemic, is that we now have face-to-face communication with people that can actually make a change, or that can guide you in the direction of where we need to go. Like we can have these webinars where people can say, okay, I need to figure out this out. We need to figure out a way that we can get more programs in our country, or we can find more opportunities for these athletes. Because the amount of people that go to the World Championships or the Olympics compared to the athletes around the world that are, you know, in the background, it doesn't make them any less important, but they may not have the knowledge or, again, the opportunity to progress as others. So I think that's something, the more that we can interact with people that may not have the resources and find them the resources, I think that's a huge importance.
Mhm.
No, for sure, for sure. Thank you for sharing. And then anyone else wanna add to this conversation?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's always been about building relationships. So when I first started to want to represent athletes, I approached board members with Water Polo Canada and my provincial federation. And you know, not all of them will appreciate that. Some of them will, you know, push back either out of, you know, condescension, or maybe they're intimidated by, oh, this guy's an athlete. Like, you know, like that can be overwhelming for some people because we're special and superhuman and whatever, but really we're just human beings, and we want to be treated as such. And so if you reach out and make a connection with another human being, you can find those people that will be willing to engage with you. And then once they understand that you're another human being and you're not a crazy fanatical, you know, a person that's going to go off the rails, then they start to say, okay, well, maybe we'll listen to a little bit to, it's just about building trust, right? So as soon as they trust you to be a dependable person, then you can provide them with some ideas, and those ideas are good ideas. So then they take them forward and they look good, right? It's all about building those relationships. And the more you do that, the more trust you have, and the more that they'll listen to you. And you can end up with a really, really constructive relationship that way that is beneficial to both the federation and to yourself. It really is about building a bridge across the gap of that communication between the pool deck and the powers that be.
No, thanks for sharing. And now Marcelo will read a question from the chat.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. So can you guys share with us how you plan to advocate for athletes and tackle crucial subjects to support them, and especially related to mental health, safe sport, education, and development? How about we start with Bill?
I think, you know, mental health is something that I just took over a club in artistic swimming club, and that's one thing that is at the forefront. And I feel like there's been a lot of talk about it, and then something happens, and I think that we need to implement, you know, like, or find solutions. Or if we can't, then don't be afraid that we don't know, and that we need to find, you know, we need to study, or we need to figure out what is going to affect those athletes, because it's not the same things that affected athletes years ago. You know, it's not going to be the same thing, you know, in the future. So finding ways to deal with this, or to help the athletes find resources to, you know, maybe if they want to go to a psychologist, or if they want to speak to other athletes, or just find them a pathway to deal with these subjects that isn't just saying, okay, well, you know, we understand that it's there, but, you know, just talking about it doesn't fix anything. So rather than just talking, I really want to find solutions.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it's just becoming such a popular word these days, like mental health, right? We hear it all the time. We hear it with, you know, just like club swimmers, collegiate swimmers, you know, high school swimmers, and all these things. And, you know, as a coach right now, I mean, I'm coaching for a swim club here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I am also volunteering for the University of Louisville swimming and diving team. I think, you know, we hear this all the time, but at the same time, I think it's very important for everybody to know that, yes, it's awesome. It's amazing that we're talking about it. It's amazing. But at the same time, we got to talk about mental toughness. We got to talk about mental toughness and mental resilience, and, you know, how to, you know, just be, yeah, exactly. You know, just like be mental tough, talk as much as you want, but we got to talk about also how to be resilient when it comes to practice, study, you know, life in general, etc. How about we go with Jordi? What are your thoughts on this?
I would love to share, but I thought I saw Rommel raise his hand, so I want to give him the opportunity.
Oh yeah,
go for it.
Gracias. Thank you, Jordi.
No lo había visto, perdón.
Justamente, gracias Marcelo. Justamente,
Thank you, Marcelo.
metí yo una iniciativa
I
en
put an initiative in my National Federal Congress on mental health for children and youth, because mental health is something that affects everyone, and it has increased because of the pandemics. In my city, my state has a very high rate of suicide, and sports can be a tool for prevention of this. But in aquatic sports and my bill that I presented at the Federal Congress, two very important points that I want to put out there and share with you, and for FINA too, is that there's three levels to this. I said federal, state, and municipal in my federal Congress, but FINA is a world organization. It has to be global, countries, and national federations and other regional federations. And the mental health programs and all that accompaniment has to be at these three levels. And it has to be permanent. It can't be just a campaign. It has to be permanent, and it has to reach everyone. But psychology doesn't have to just be focused on high performance and elite and getting the medal, which is what we work on with athletes, but also to work on frustration in our competitions, frustration in your family life, and frustration when you retire. A case I want to talk to you about, one of our greatest idols, Michael Phelps, who when he retired, every day you get up, let's say with a medal objectives dream in your head. And when your career finishes, you say, what am I going to do now? We don't prepare athletes for what is coming after sports. And we know that Michael Phelps had these issues. And this is why we have to prepare athletes, not only psychologically for the competition, but for normal life, because we are human beings and will never stop from being individuals and people. Work has to be permanent, but policies have to be global policies and then have them trickle down, work through according to the corresponding authorities. Very important work. Each national federation, and ours, which we love so much, our sports, we do have to put great emphasis on this topic, focused also on retirement. In the Athletes Commission of the Olympic Committee here, we have in Mexico, we have a program to prepare athletes when they retire. We have webinars, we have training. Many also studied degrees, but many did not. And when your career in sports is over, what will you live from? What will be your financials? You have to learn how to work, how to get ahead, and be able to use also and manage your finances. Maybe you can be the best lawyer, male, woman, but finances also are important. All of these things we have to handle and manage. There should be a program, psychological program, not only just on high performance elite sports, but just for being regular individuals and be able to get ahead with issues and after retirement. Yes, I think it's so important for people to know there's an entire world after aquatic sports. Every kind of sport in the world, there's an entire world after this of opportunities which you can take advantage of. And I can tell you that from all of our perspective, when we retire and we have all of this time on our hands, we say, I have time to do this, time to do that, start this podcast or work here or work there, or get a new certification on some area. So as I tell you, there's a world of opportunities. It's very important, as you said, Rommel, that we need to know that sports is not our entire life, that there are opportunities beyond this outside, and we must take advantage of this, everything, how we handle our money, our life, everything. So now we're going to go back to English.
You there with us? Oh, I think, Jordan, I think your mic is mute.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was here the whole time. I think there was a delay between the translation. So if you said something while she was still talking, I definitely did not hear you. So
oh no, that's fine.
No worries about it. No, going off of that topic, I 100% what Ramos said, 100%, it's important. And, you know, I kind of going off what my club team here, just to kind of show that we also appreciate how important it is that the University of Aruba here, we only have one university here on Aruba, but they have a program for helping, amongst other things, is the mental health of their students. It's called Shoko Wellness, and Shoko translates to our national animal, which is the owl, so Shoko Wellness. And we've partnered, like my swim team has partnered with the University of Aruba's Shoko Wellness program that allows the students and faculty of the university to attend our master's trainings to just relieve stress. So they, you know, when they come, they don't necessarily have to participate in the sets or anything like that, but they can come during pool hours of us and just swim, get their mind off things, and exercise at their own pace like that. And so that's kind of, you know, we help out the university like that. And within our own team, we also partnered with a psychologist who is working with the coaches of the team, so me and my assistants, as well as available for the athletes themselves. If they feel like they want to talk to him, they can, and that's available to him. And I think what you mentioned it comes into play here. It's great that we're talking about it. And so yes, mental health is being talked about a lot and a lot more, which is, let's say, normalizing it. So it's not anymore a stigma to say, I'm going to see a psychologist. Maybe back in the day that was frowned upon, people were ashamed of it. And when I say back in the day, I attended a university from 2014 to 2018. And for 3 of those years, the later 3 years, I was seeing a sports psychologist that the university had on staff. It didn't start out for mental health reasons. It started out because a friend of mine here in Aruba committed suicide. And that was the first time that I had experienced a loss for someone of my own age. So I felt like I wanted to talk to someone about it. And then, you know, after the first few sessions, I asked the psychologist, I was like, can I just like keep coming back every Friday? Like, I'm really enjoying this. It's helping me out just to, let's say, express myself and all that. And at first I didn't tell my roommates, for example, nothing like that. I'd say, hey, I have an appointment, and I would just leave the house. But eventually, by accident, me and a couple of my teammates on the swim team, we by accident found out that we were seeing the same psychologist on staff. So that's not that weird, but a number of us found out that we were seeing her. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you too, awesome. Like, okay, let's, it's not that weird. It's not anything to be ashamed of. And all of a sudden we also felt that we could confide in each other, even like, okay, what are you actually like struggling with? Can I help you out when you don't have an appointment, you know? So yeah. that train of thought, with my students or with my athletes, that they also have access to that if they feel like they want to use it. And most of them are young, they don't really realize the benefits that it might have, but some of them I think do, which is awesome to see already. And then of course, I can go into a little bit, you know, I love to ramble, but stop me anytime. But I also, the way I like to coach is, you know, very positive mindset. And I will push my athletes to, you know, I want to bring out all of their potential. So I will push them if I see that they can do better. But if I see like the signs like, okay, they've hit that wall and that's it, I'm not going to overdo it. And I think that's also related to that. You know, I don't want them to go home afraid of me. I don't want them to go home afraid of the sport, that they overdid it. No, if they felt like, if I can see that they hit that wall, cool, warm down, that's it for today. Yeah. Great job, we've done it.
Absolutely. I mean, we can exchange ideas for coaching all day. I think, I think that's just awesome. I think that's awesome that you really care about them and that you're really
Yeah.
like, you're not pushing it, you're not taking to the breaking point, and you want them to love the sport and then go do whatever they want after.
For sure, for sure.
But no, I mean, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And then let's see, we have one more, we have time for one more question, and this will be, can one or two of you tell us how can athletes connect with athlete representatives and initiate these movements for change? How can we start these things and just talk to it, just talk to some athlete representative. How can we get that started? So how about we go with Bill first?
Well, again, I think these webinars are the perfect place, and go on, and I'm sure you guys all feel the same, that talk, again, like Robin said, we're normal people, and we want to fight for the same things you do. So I feel like, just going out there, finding these names, talking to people, and don't be afraid to ask, because that's what, again, we're all here for. So go find these webinars. We're lucky because of social media that we have great opportunities that way. So find people on social media and just go for it. If you're afraid that someone will disagree with you or not answer, then you're already expecting the worst. So, I would say contact people, and if you don't have a direct line to someone, contact someone that can, or contact your NGBs or whatever you can, but just go out there and be proactive in finding the representatives, finding other athletes that can help you along the way, but just go and talk and ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to our incredible panelists, Robin, Bill, Romel, and Jordi. This was absolutely fabulous. And I want to emphasize that Underwater Chats is an initiative supported by the Pan Am Aquatics athlete representatives. I am part of the athlete representative committee. So please reach out to us at any time. You can reach out to us via Facebook or Instagram from the Pan Am Aquatics pages, and we'll absolutely make sure that your voice is heard, that your concerns are addressed, and we'll do our best to direct you to the best possible resources that we can and connect with you, because this is all about building community, supporting you in every step of the way. So please feel free to reach out at any time. And I also want to invite our audience members to join us in next month's webinar, Safe Sport in Aquatics. We hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend, and thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye, everyone.